Have you ever felt trapped in a cycle of negative thoughts? Hi, I'm Stephanie, and welcome to the Abundant Soul Podcast. I'm here with Ashley, and today we're diving deep into a truth that transforms both our lives. You have more control over your thoughts than you might think. In this powerful episode, we explore how negative thinking often becomes our default setting. But it doesn't have to stay that way. Through our own raw stories and experiences, we share how reframing negative thoughts and trusting universal timing can shift everything. From celebrating small wins to recognizing toxic patterns, we unpack the delicate balance between acknowledging tough emotions and choosing a more positive path. Whether you're navigating difficult conversations or seeking to build more supportive relationships, this conversation offers practical wisdom for breaking free from negativity's grip. We also explore how language shapes our reality, why community matters in growth, and how every challenge, yes, even the really hard ones, carries a lesson in disguise. Fasten your seatbelt and get ready.
Good morning.
We spoke at the same time.
We're both super excited.
Yeah, we were ready.
Yes. How are you doing this week?
Very good. Very
Good.
I'm so excited for this episode. I'm always excited when we meet. I could meet every day and discuss for hours.
Same. Okay, so this week again, we are pulling from The Power of Surrender cards by Judith Orloff. I love these cards. So I have pulled a card for us. Steph doesn't know what it is, and it's such a good one today. Okay, so our card today is Surrender Negative Thinking.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's a big one.
Right? Just like, hey, just do that. Not a big deal. It's like, whoa. Okay, so, and it says, you have control over your thoughts. When negative thoughts surface, say thank you for sharing and quickly refocus on positive affirmations.
Easier said than done.
Yes.
My first thought is really easier said than done.
Yeah.
So humans tend to think in a negative way. I don't know, it's because back in the days we needed to protect ourselves from everything surrounding. We didn't have a home like we see. We used to live in a cave.
Right.
Surrounded by wild animals, so always being on guard. I don't know if that negative thinking comes from there, where we always see the worst case scenario, and it's very hard to focus on the positive, that there is always something positive or something that is good, even when you are struggling. And oftentimes we will see it after.
Yeah.
Once that passed, right, we had such hard situations where we think it's the end of the world, like we're not gonna through that, and we are into our negative loops. However, it brought us to the biggest growth journey, the biggest growth spurt. I think we said that. So yeah, that's such a, but it's not easy.
That's really powerful about what you said. And I like that you reminded me of those things, because the first thing that came up for me was on the card where it says, quickly refocus on positive affirmations. That just made me think about that bypassing, where it's like, oh, who cares? Just be positive. I was like, okay, no, because then you're just suppressing your feelings, and that's going to come up at a later time. But I like what you said about when you go through crap and you're in like a really difficult situation, it's really hard to see the gift in it, the medicine in it, the lesson, the growth while you're going through it, because you typically emotions are so high. You don't know the outcome because typically it's something that you've never done before or a situation you've never been in. And again, that negative thinking, worst case scenario, is loud.
Mhm.
So it's so hard to see the gift in it until you're through it. And I think for both of us, like our spiritual journeys that we've been on and those of our guests that we've had on, it's cool to be able to reflect back and share those stories. But when you're in it, man,
Mm.
it that negative thinking seems to be the biggest percentage, if not the only types of thoughts you have, right? Do you feel that way too?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. And I want to share something what happened a few months back, which seems completely ridicule. Now, when you think about it, but at the moment, I was so mad. And so a few months back, here I live close to New York City, and there was a big solar explosion, and the region here was able to see aurora borealis. Okay, and if you know me, I would love to see aurora borealis. I've been living in Canada for so long. I've been chasing them. I've been at the middle of the night when I heard that there were possible aurora borealis. I would take my car and drive into a field, spend hours to see them in the cold.
Dang.
We went a full weekend in Gaspé with friends because there was supposed to be a solar eruptions. No aurora borealis at that time. We had fun, best weekend ever. But still, I've been trying to see those aurora borealis for so long. I've seen them one night, but very small because it was in my apartment back in Canada. My son was a little baby, so I could not just take him and go outside. He was sleeping, and I saw them from a balcony. However, with all the lights from the city, I saw some greenish colors in the sky, but that's it. So I want to see dark skies, aurora borealis. Turns out that night I couldn't sleep very well, and I went on Facebook, and I've been trying to avoid social media, and right now I'm down to a rabbit hole again, so I wanna I wanna stop that. Back to fresh. But so I went to the Facebook group, and I saw from the city group that people were posting all these aurora borealis, and you could see it right there from the city. And there is also a photo of the landscape of New York City with aurora borealis there. I got so mad. So mad. So I went on my balcony, stayed there. I've done that for an hour. My son was sleeping. Same scenario. My husband was not there. He was in Canada, actually, at that time, during that weekend. My son was sleeping, and I was there, frustrated. I wanted to see them. It's been a few hours since people have seen it. So if you know, with aurora borealis, it comes and goes. Like it's not because you've seen it 1 minute, then the next it's gonna be there. It's very fluid and very alive. So I tried to see it, could not see it, got very, very mad. And I got so mad. I went so into my negative thinking loop, like, why is it happening to me? I will never be able to see them. Like, screw it. Like, I want to see that. Everyone can see it, and I've been chasing them, and it always happens to me. And then I turn this into my work. Again, I've been unemployed, and like, well, that's the reason that I can't find a job. And I don't know why it came there from there, but I got like so frustrated that I didn't get interviews, and I went like full negative swing. And at some point I look at the clock, and it was 111. And if you follow numerology, 111 is an angel number. And like to me, it's you have believe in the universe, all is well, you're in the right path, like it's all there, and like right divine timing. And I saw the clock, and it was actually October 11th. So I was like 11, 111, and I look at the clock, and I was like, I know, universe, I know. I was like, I know, I have to trust and believe. And when I went back to bed after that, seems stupid, but at this moment, everything was irrational. The following day, the following morning when I woke up, I realized what went on. I was like, okay, that's okay. You just had a moment of like craziness, 1 hour of full being angry at the world, basically. Everything was unfair. Everything was unfair. And I was like, okay, own this. That's okay. Maybe there are bigger plans. Maybe I'm gonna go to that cruise and see the aurora borealis there, or to Ireland. I always want to go to Ireland, or I don't know how we say that country in English. So Suède. I don't know this one. Sweden.
Yeah.
So yes, maybe like there are other plans. It's not the end of the world. Literally, it's not the end of the world. And I made my grief, I made my peace, and I didn't look at the photos everyone posted because that made me very jealous. I was super jealous and envious of all these people who were able to see those aurora borealis without having to chase it. Well, I've been trying so bad, and it's kind of related with divine timing that we mentioned in one episode, right? Like that was not my time.
Yeah.
And I got all this negative thinking, like that was a loop that went in loop, like it's unfair, and I was angry. I couldn't see the rational, but it's just aurora borealis, like it's nothing really. I can just go to sleep, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to change my day to day. It has no impact at all, except that I really want to see them. Still want to see them.
Yes. But you will. I feel like what you said about it's not the time yet, right? And it's almost like the universe testing you, like, oh, these other people are seeing it. Can you still have trust that you're going to see this in the most magical way? It's not even on your radar yet. The way, like you mentioned, a cruise, do you have any cruises booked right now?
No.
But who knows what will happen, and the universe is like, because you love this so much and you want it so bad, just wait till you get this gift. But yeah, I feel you when you're in it and you feel like it's happening and you're not a part of it. And you want it so bad, and you have that FOMO, that fear of missing out, especially seeing that everyone else is enjoying it. Oh, I feel that. I get that.
Jealousy was there.
Yeah.
And then I asked my husband, did you see them? He's in Canada, so it's even more intense. He's like, no. So I see some pink reddish in the sky, but he doesn't care that much. I'm like, what?
You didn't take a picture for me?
You didn't go and you didn't see, like, no, I was with my friends, and that's okay. So again, I was attached to seeing them, and he's like, okay.
That's cool though that he's kind of in a way was grounding, like, no, I was doing other things. I was with my friends. Just like a reminder. But I think you're going to see that. And I think you're going to see it in a cool way. Because again, releasing the attachments to outcomes we think, because we only have our frame of reference for what's happened or what we know. So the way things sometimes end up working out are completely different because we're in a completely different place and we're a different person. That's something that's so cool that like a message, or I keep seeing in podcasts or books I'm reading, is that you're going to have to go through some crap to become the person who will receive that. So it's almost like this gift that you want, this thing that you've asked the universe or God, source, whoever, the thing that you really want, likely you can't get in the state that you are now. And you're going to have to go through some crap. You're going to have to grow and evolve. Not going to have to, you get to. You get to go through those things.
I love that.
I know, I'm trying to be more mindful with my words and stop using have to, and it's you get to. Because again, there's a gift in that. So you get to evolve and grow and learn those lessons and come out the other side even better. And then your gift is like, yay, you made it. High five. Here you go. Here's what you wanted. And you're like, dang, okay.
Definitely. And to circle back on the Aurora Borealis, the funny thing is I bought a deck card. It's an Akashic Tarot reading. And one of the first cards that I pulled was the picture is the Aurora Borealis.
No.
And a beautiful card. I don't have it here, but...
Your guides are like, girl, chill out. We're trying to send you numbers. We're trying to tell you we got you. We're sending you pictures. Oh, I love that.
But coming back to the negative thinking loop, once you are in there, it's so hard to get out. So how? Right? What is the way to get out of your negative thinking?
I think for me, I know I just touched a little bit on language, but language has played a huge role in my past, I would say maybe year or so, is being mindful of the words that I speak, because it helps with reframing and how I feel. I'm noticing even with my nephew, I remember he's really into cars. So we'll be walking and he'll be like, oh my gosh, that car is so ugly. I hate that car. And then I'll say like, hold the phone. We got to pick a new word choice. Let's say that's not your first choice. Let's not say that you hate it. Let's not say that it's ugly, because clearly someone loves that car. They bought it. They're using it. That's just not what you would choose. So have that respect that just because you don't like it, someone else does, you know? So again, I'm very mindful with my words. Instead of saying I have to do something, or I'm trying to think of the last time I know I have negative thoughts. But really grounding into the words that I use helps me in the way that I think about it as well. And grounding into the idea of things that are happening, things that are out there. They're not always necessarily for you. They can be gifts for other people. So just not waiting your turn, but kind of like, you know what, this isn't meant for me. I didn't get this promotion or something, but you know what, the person who got it, dang, they deserve that. And I'm happy for them. Maybe something will happen where I will get promoted somewhere else, or maybe I will leave and do a different career. So it's kind of having that gratitude and trying to see it in a different way, that while it might be frustrating for you on your end, it could be blessing someone else. Ooh, okay, I know something that's coming up. My father, I don't know why I say father. I always call him dad. So I was like, my father. Okay, so my dad, he's very old school. He carries around cash, and he carries around cash in a money clip. So he calls me one day. Long story short, he has lost his money clip, and it's a lot of money, like thousands of dollars. And I'm like, why are you carrying this much money on you? Oh my gosh, what's going on? So he tells me the story of how he's trying to backtrack his day. He can't find it anywhere, and he's kind of freaking out. And for him, it was extra, I want to say play money, but not really play money, but it was just extra money that he had. So in my mind, I'm like, the money's already gone. There's no sense in him dwelling over this. It's going to ruin his day. He's a school bus driver. So I'm like, he's about to see a bunch of little kids. He needs to put his happy face on. So I held space for him while he kind of vented and was frustrated. He's upset with himself. So I was like, okay, I have an opportunity here. How can I flip this for him to get him to view it differently? So I said, okay, well, it sounds like you've done all the steps. You called the gas station, you notified your work. You have done all that you can do. Now it's out of your control. So you've done everything that you can do. Let it go. And maybe think about this. What if someone who couldn't make their car payment, couldn't make rent, couldn't feed their kids, like really needed money, found that, and you just helped a person, a family, a community, a group. Someone found that, and it was exactly what needed to happen. Because my dad's very religious and into his faith, and I said, this is very similar to when you're helping people at your church and your community. Maybe God, source, the universe is working through you, and you dropped that money, but then maybe it's going to good use. So he was silent because I could feel I'm like, okay, it's helping him to reframe it. Like maybe he's seeing this is bigger than him. And so he was like, okay, yeah, you're right. Like there's nothing more I can do. And then he started just rattling off scenarios of what that money could be going towards. So I was like, okay, this feels really cool. I feel like I was able to help him shift his energy that day. So when I got off the phone, we went about our day, and he leaves me a voicemail while I'm at work hours later. And he's like, I really thought about what you said, and I like that idea. And after work, I thought, man, what if it fell out of my pocket in my car? So I went to my car, and there it was, just sitting like in between the driver's seat. So I was like, oh, okay. So I helped him to change his mood, think about it in a different way. And he ended up finding the money. So it's like a win-win that instead of him sitting in that negative thinking of, I'm the victim, why me? Oh my gosh, it's going to ruin my day. He was able to think about it like, okay, maybe that happened for a different reason that I don't know. And maybe it's going to good. So just let it go. So that was one thing that came up for me about negative thinking. And again, easier said than done. And I will say it was not my situation. So
that's what I want to pinpoint was having support with someone that is, I wouldn't say positive in life, but that could have a different point of view of a situation. Like could really help you. And that's what happened with you and your dad, where you're like, hey, but maybe just maybe consider that it could be for the greatest good.
Yeah.
Right. And especially since it was the play money, right? It was not meant to pay for your rent or something that you have to. So yes, it stings because you are not be able to do, maybe you were planning on going to a restaurant or doing something extra, but you bring something to someone that will help, and you having this outsider view and as a positive, because you could have gone and said, oh, you're right, like, oh my God, what did you do? You will not be able to enjoy yourself. All these words, and believe me, I know many people that are like this. If you start, if you're not feeling good, and they will just feed from that.
Yeah.
Feed from this negativity. And yes, you talk about it, but when you end that conversation, you're not feeling good. And maybe it's not about the feeling good, but more about the feeling at peace.
Yeah.
So I love this story. Well, and I really like the fact that sometimes the help will come from outside.
And while you were saying that made me remember there was medicine in that for me too, because as he was telling me, his story of how he lost this, if I'm honest, immediately the feelings that came to my mind was, how could he be so careless? Why is he walking around with all this money? I wanted to almost like how a parent would scold you. Like, what do you think you were doing? Like, maybe you shouldn't carry around a money clip if it falls out of your pocket. Like, all these things. But I was able, before I vocalized it, I was able to say, is that going to help? He's already distraught. He's already upset. Is it going to help? Is it going to add any value? No. You're just going to make him feel worse about himself. So,
best words.
yeah,
I
it's
told you so.
yes, right?
Who
I was
doesn't
like,
love
no,
that? I told you so. I'm like, oh, I didn't need that.
right. That's like the last thing you want to hear when you're going through something is someone that's judging you. And you're like, it's not like I, consciously chose this situation that I'm in. I'm in it now. And so, yeah, so I was proud of myself for that moment to be able, like, yes, you may be thinking all these things, but that is not going to help him right now. He is already down for the count. Like, he is like not happy. So don't even mention those things. How can you help him?
He's already punished in some way.
Ooh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
Like, he
right.
already feel the punishment of, he's already feeling guilty. You don't need to add on it. That's something that we forget. Like, we want to help, right? It's not, you wouldn't have said, like, I told you so, or like, oh, what did you do? Like, why do you carry this amount of cash? Because you want to be mean. It's more because you want to protect. But the way it comes out, like, it's harsh. And definitely it's not going to help them get out of this negative loop and feel better. That's not. Because they will think, yes, you're right, I shouldn't.
That is so important. The company that we keep, the people we surround ourselves with. You hit on the topic of having support. However, let's talk about when you are around people that maybe their go-to is negative thinking and how you can. So if that's something that you're working on, like getting better about negative thinking, the impact of like assessing, taking inventory, who are the people closest to me in my orbit? Are they people who are negative Nancy's? Sorry to any Nancy's out there. But, like, I mean, have you experienced that where you kind of take inventory of like, am I surrounding myself with people who are positive, growing, or am I surrounding myself sometimes with people who see the negative in things or really like being in that woe is me?
Oh, every day. Every day, actually, more and more.
Really?
More and more. I'm getting very protective of my energy and the people that I talk to. And actually, when I did an Akashic reading, and we can do an episode on that, my earth purpose is to find like-minded people. That's my earth purpose, where I'm struggling. I'm in a transition, a growth transition. And you're going to lose people, you're going to meet new people. And I'm someone that people used to call me naive because I always want to see the good in everyone. And also for me, it's very difficult to lose the friendship. So I tend to hold on to that person as long as I can. However, once I decide that you're no longer good for me, I break up like this. And there is no turning back. So, yes, I'm evaluating now who I spend time with. And I'm working through that right now, where I know that some people, I can't, if I'm in a down, I'm not going to call these people because it's going to get worse. But at the same time, because I'm working on gratitude a lot, abundance, prosperity. So seeing the beautiful things around me seeing positive and beautiful things in a situation. And one of the examples I did at work, I used to do what is called a Celebration Friday email, where I would gather everything that we can celebrate, not everything what we did. But I had to remind managers a lot. Just what we can celebrate. But it's a huge like, yay, it's finally we managed to do that. Oh my God, this was so hard to do, but we got it. Like everything what we celebrate, it could be one thing or 10 things. But I would gather, we were 2 on our team the last 2 years. So my coworker and I, we would, teams our celebrations, and I would create an email, and I would always have some kind of an expression or a GIF associated with that week. So sometimes when it was during Mercury retrograde and not many things went right, like I had like a cat with poof with all the hair everywhere, like that was a rough week, but we still managed to do this and that and that. Like we have things to celebrate even during the hard times. And I think going retrospectively too will help moving forward when you are in those situations, being like, okay, it's not all peak now, it's not all positive, it's very hard. First of all, I have to accept that I'm not my best right now, right? Like you have to accept that you're not in your most positive mind right now. And well, sometimes you just have to be. You just have to accept, and if you want to curse. If you want to beat yourself up for an hour, allow you to beat yourself up for an hour. Then you can forgive yourself, right? You can add that, like, it's okay, you're just human. And then you can practice seeing nice things while you are struggling. But it's a practice. It's a practice that takes years, that you may not master completely. It's not going to be perfect. However, you will see an improvement as time goes on. And I'm talking from experience because I've done it. I'm still doing it. I still have my setbacks, like the aurora borealis. Even now to that day, I'm like, it's just aurora borealis. What happened to me during that night? Well, I was tired. It was in the middle of the night. Like, you have all these reasons. So I'm like, okay, that's fair reasons. And I cared. So that's also okay, right? So seeing the beautiful things in the hard things takes practice. It takes practice to see the beautiful things on the best days too. Because we tend to see the days going by and we don't appreciate what we have. And we always say, like, doing meditation when everything goes well is easier than when it doesn't go well. Yeah. When you are struggling. And when you are struggling, there is a saying actually that says, and I may say it wrong, but the idea is, on a normal day, do a meditation of 10 minutes. On the day where you are busy, do it an hour.
I love that.
That's the idea of, that's when you are struggling, when you need the meditation, and that's usually when you don't do it.
Yeah.
So you have to practice when you are not into a struggling situation. Practice positive thoughts, but you have to feel them.
Yeah.
You have to feel, because just saying positive thoughts for positive thoughts only, affirmations, it's not going to work when you are struggling because you are not feeling them.
Yeah. Okay, this made me think of, I love that we're always like, oh, this came up. So while you were sharing, okay, I love all of this. So the positive affirmations, I will say sometimes it's very difficult because they don't feel natural and it almost feels like I'm borrowing someone else's. It doesn't feel authentic sometimes. And yes, I could take the time to sit down and write my own, but now as I'm saying this, maybe that's not what's going to resonate most for me. So what's coming up is I have a board, like a cork board, standard size cork board in my hallway. And I have posted, when people leave you notes or like cards for like thank you cards or birthday cards or something, those messages are all over this cork board that I have. And the intention behind it is when I can't see the strengths I have or the things that make me me, when I am not in the mood to celebrate and honor those, I will go and read those things because these are not my own words. These are people reflecting it back to me. And it has helped me through some not the best times, especially with the negative thinking or working through fear or thinking I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy. I will go and I will read those things. And it helps to just get me back in that mindset of like, you're kind of a badass. This is cool. Like, remember these things. It's like having your own little cheering section to help get through those funks. And when you talked about being a leader who shares on a weekly basis, these are things we can celebrate. Who cares what we got done? Who cares what we didn't get done? Here are things we can celebrate. That is such a great quality of a leader because I feel like it releases that pressure of being good enough or perfect, or if we have a problem, someone's now on the chopping block. It cultivates this like we're a team, we're going to go through highs and lows together. So I love that you did that. And I think that is something, if any of our listeners, if you manage people, if you work on a team, even if you're a leader, you don't have to have that in your title. That is something you can do that impacts so many. And on that board that I have in my hallway, I also have this thing I created at work when I managed a team. Working on a team sometimes can have its challenges because if you feel like people are not pulling their weight or, everyone's different. Their motivation is different, their personality, work ethic. So sometimes it can be difficult working on a team. And I was starting to see that people were noticing differences more than similarities. So one year around the holidays, I asked everyone, I want you to say one positive thing about everyone on this list, and it was maybe 20 people. So I gathered all of these, and then I combined everyone's one sentence from the different people on the team and made it like a little 8x10. It had their name on it, and then it didn't say who it was from. It was anonymous, and it was just like 20 positive qualities that other people see in them. And it was so cool to see because I personally knew, these different team members, and I knew when people were struggling with self-confidence. I knew when people felt like an outsider, like they weren't a part of the team. And to see them reading these, and some of them would post them in their office on their cubicle, and it's just like, don't forget who you are. Like when you don't get that sale, or you lose a client, or you screw up a project, or you don't meet a deadline, don't forget these amazing things about yourself that others see in you.
I love that. Oh my God, that's amazing.
I know, girl. I'm like, man, we look at us being little leaders, like, believe in yourself, believe in your little soul. You got this.
Yeah, definitely. And that's amazing. The day I'm going to be a manager, I may steal your idea.
Yes, don't steal it, take it.
By the way, I was not a manager when I created the Celebration Friday.
That's
so
even
when,
better.
when you say that, it's not about the title.
Yes.
Like I would send this to our team of 2, my coworker and I, and my managers. So sometimes it was 1. We were a team of 3, and when we ended up, we had 2 managers. So, but I was not a manager at all.
Yeah.
And when someone else outside from our team, I had to celebrate with them, I will send them the snippet to say, hey, I highlighted you in our little email. I'm like, what's this email? I'm like, yeah, I do that. So Yeah, no, you don't have to be a manager.
Right.
You don't, like you said, no title. Like, it's just about recognizing the people where you are with all the time. And I love what you share about the board. And it's funny because I have a me, quote unquote, me folder email, um, me email folder where at work I would, I'm very organized. But when someone thank me or say nice things about me, or I used to, because I'm not working this year, it's I think the first year in many years that I won't do that, but I used to send individual emails for the holidays to tell them how I appreciate them, and it's tailored.
Aw.
Like it's not it's not the same. Yeah, I used to work with doctors, so I would send them and very like tailored to their team. I wouldn't send the same email to everyone, and same as the company. So the for the company, the one that I worked less, I used to send them more generic email. But for all of them, and for the teams that I worked specifically, I would send. I mean, I think like 53 emails in total, like different ones. And I've done that every year except now, this year, where because I'm not working, but I felt like recognizing and bring them, and so many reply back that I had from that email saying, oh my God, like, thank you for this email. Like, we've never seen this before. And I appreciate working with you. And so I would keep, all the emails that I really touched me. And like you did, when, something was not working at work or when I fell down, I would go and reread the emails. And, it's like a coffee for your mind.
Yes.
For anyone who likes coffee. And really, so to bring you back into more peace so you can get clarity and go back into your positive thinking. Because you cannot bypass how you are feeling.
Right.
You will have negative thoughts. It's gonna come. It's not because you do a personal growth that you're gonna get rid of it. No. But if you were hoping for that, bringing you back to reality there.
Yeah.
You mentioned having people surrounding you that are not toxic, that you can really, really have a heartful conversation with them that will ground you, get you back to reality. Sometimes it's like a shake-up, like, hey, what are you doing? No, come back. So all of that can bring you back into more positive way of seeing things. And I want to remind also, practice.
Yeah.
Practice when everything is fine. Because that's when things get harder, but you need it. And if you haven't practiced when everything was fine, it's not going to work when you're struggling.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think I've summarized.
No, it's so
what
it's
we
so
did.
good. I love it. I love all the examples, all the advice. And I think it's so important, like what you said when you say, like, if there's toxic people around you. Sometimes I don't like that word because to me, I think I have such compassion for everyone that I'm like, there's a lot of hurt and pain there. And if they're not processing, working through it, that's just where they're at. So while I say that, everyone's situation's different. So if there's toxic people in your life that are negative thinkers that are bringing you down, it doesn't mean they're a horrible person, you're writing them off. It's just like, you know what, as I grow and evolve, I'm not sure we're heading in the same direction. We don't need to be on the same path. But like you said, like surrounding yourself with like-minded people that support you, that celebrate you, that you don't feel you have to compete with, that people are like, you know what, Steph, Ashley, heck yeah, that's awesome that you did XYZ, not the jealousy or the, like the negative talk that's like, well, how come you didn't do this? Or what about this? How are you going to do this? It's like, dang, can't you just be happy for me? So I think that's very important with one, yourself, how you view yourself, because that is something you can control. You can't control what others think and feel about you. You can control yourself. And if you do your own work, sometimes you attract in those people who are like-minded, who genuinely love, care, and support you. And then maybe those negative, toxic people kind of start to fall by the wayside, you know?
I love that. And I want to add to that. So attracting like-minded, but also like-hearted.
Ooh.
Because it's not because they have like-minded is we think the same. But I also think that like-hearted, we have the same compassion, the same goal in well-being, and we can disagree. We can have a completely different view. You know, I could do my personal growth and you can not, right? But we respect each other enough to give thoughtful advice, you know, and being present. And it's not about, you know, for me, toxic means it's toxic for me.
Yeah. Ooh,
right? I could eat
good.
something like, I could take the example of gluten, right? For some people, it's fine. But for some of them, it will be toxic. It will make them sick. Toxic means like on my health, it's not going to have a good impact. So in my mind, when I said, toxic relationship, I would think for me, not because that person is toxic and, no one can get close to that person. No, that's not the way I see it actually. So I want to really share my definition of toxic. So yes, for me, toxic, so it will be more like-minded and like-hearted, and the like-hearted people like not being toxic, or the people not being more judgmental and giving advice just because they are very negative, and that's gonna have an impact on me where I feel more depleted and with lack of energy than having a thoughtful conversation that, yeah, maybe at the end I would not like the outcome, or because that person would disagree with me and would give me reason to doubt, maybe. So we never like that, right? We never like that. However, when we know that the person comes from a beautiful heart, we will take their advice in consideration and say, okay, maybe they are right. Maybe I should be more open. Or maybe we don't, right? Then we're going to be able to decide, but we are going to be able to listen to their advice that we know it's not made because they're just stubborn and in their one way of thinking, and you know that they want the good for you. So, yeah, I think I'm sidetracking here.
No, it's also good. Oh, this was a good one today. I really liked, and it's so fun doing these little cards, and it's like perfect timing. So thank you so much for sharing on all of this. It's always so great to just be open, be our authentic selves, and share the good, the bad, and the in-between
And
of
the
our
ugly.
little souls. Yes, and the ugly of our little soul journeys.
And the things we want to hide.
Yes. Yes.
All right. Well, enjoy the rest of your time and talk to you next week.
All right. Talk to you next week.
Bye.
Bye.